We were recently made aware of a invalid request coming from one of our websites, and it was narrowed down that the request was coming from one of our Selenium boxes. So we have 3 Mac minis that are running Selenium tests, and all 3 of these were trying to access this domain. The domain gave us a clue as to what website was causing this, and so we were able to narrow it down to the automated tests that were causing it. It was the Mozillians test suite, and it was the staging instance of the application. So in order to track this down, I ran our tests through a web intercepting proxy, and then I could see all of the domains that were being requested, and so the rogue domain popped up. I was then able to narrow it down to a individual test that would cause that, and then I was able to inspect the page and find the offending request, which turns out it's a setting for this application. So I'm going to demonstrate how I ran our tests through a proxy. We're using Python, and we're using PyTest test framework, and we're using PyTest Selenium. We're using the PyTest Selenium plugin. So the first thing is I'm going to make a temporary virtual environment. So virtual environments in Python just allow you to separate your packages, your libraries from your global site packages. And a temporary environment just means when I deactivate it, it'll be deleted. So I'm in the Mozillians tests workspace. Make temp env will make us a temporary environment. The -n just means that we won't change directory to that virtual environment, and then -r allows me to install the test requirements as specified by the requirements.txt file. So most of these should be cached, so it shouldn't take too long. And this is installing PyTest and the PyTest Selenium plugin and any other dependencies they may have. Okay, so we can see we're in our temporary environment. So the next thing is to start a web intercept proxy. I decided to use Charles, which I just have a trial version of at the moment installed. I wanted to use a proxy that had a GUI so that I could very quickly see when the rogue request showed up. So here's the child proxy. If I go into the proxy settings, I can see that the proxy is running on port 8888. So I could change that, but I'm happy to leave that as it is. But that's important to know for when running our tests. So with PyTest Selenium, we can specify additional capabilities by adding a variables JSON file. So I've created one called proxy.json, and the contents of it just describe the proxy that we want to use. So you see I've got your localhost because the proxy server is running locally, and the port 8888. So that just means that when I run the test, I'm going to use Firefox. So driver is Firefox, and I'm going to specify variables file of proxy.json. So because we've got this capabilities key, this will then get passed when instantiating the Selenium WebDriver, and the capabilities included will be then used. This is only affecting our staging website. So I will specify the URL to that environment. And I did run this through with all of the tests. I was able to narrow it down to a specific test. So I'm just going to run that test now. And I can do that by doing this the -k for keywords and a partial match on the test name. So if I hit return, we should see Firefox launch. I'll then put Charles in the foreground. There we go. So you can see these requests starting to come in. In the background, Mozillians is loaded. This test is actually just searching with an empty string. And there we go. This entry here, mozillians.alazom.org HTTP. So this obviously is a corrupt domain. And so what I did next is the test actually passes. If the test had failed, we may have noticed this sooner. But what I did next is go to Mozillians, repeat what the test does, which is just simply hitting return. And then, so I'm on the same page. If I open up the network panel, reload, and what I'm expecting to see here is this rogue request. But I don't see it there. I can point you directly to where it's happening though. So if we scroll down, we have this user here. If I inspect this element, you see that I have a image with a source of mozillians.alazom.org http://dummyimage.com/70x70. So that's where our rogue request is coming from. And so that's just a simple demonstration of running PyTest Selenium with Firefox through a proxy and using that to identify a rogue request.